So now as we think about how to adapt and apply all of that in the Bermuda context, I'm pleased to introduce the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Lawrence Scott. Nice to see you. Minister Scott has been kind enough to join us today to share his vision for clean transportation in Bermuda and how the public and private sector can collaborate to achieve phenomenal progress in Bermuda. Minister Scott.
Good morning, and good morning to everybody. I'm pleased to see the high level of interest and participation in today's e-mobility summit. When the Department of Energy first approached my ministry about the summit, I was very excited about the timing, as I felt as though it was very perfect because we are in the final stages of completing our mobility strategy, and that strategy lays out the ministry's plans into transitioning into electrification. I see the contributions and outcomes of today's discussions as a catalyst for the building of not just building on feedback, but the building of the foundation for the future that the ministry is going to build based off of our 2019 Transportation Green Paper. And that consultation is an opportunity to stimulate discussion about the options and opportunities available not just for Bermuda for today, not just Bermuda for tomorrow, but Bermuda for 10 to 15 years from now. The global acceptance of several benefits to transitioning to the electric vehicles, with the primary one generally centered around cutting of emissions. We too in Bermuda see a need to get on board, and however, we are looking ahead to the future and in preparation and being proactive with the education and the essential needs that we need to do our homework, and we need to ensure that we have everything in place to make sure that our electrification plans are sustainable. For those that know me, know that I have a background in aerospace, mainly in the aviation industry. And what drew me to the aviation industry is that the aviation industry is usually the first to get the newest technology outside of NASA and or the military. And also in the aviation industry, nothing is off the table. The Ministry of Transport is open to receiving any recommendation on motivating Bermuda to go electric. We know that customers have many questions, and with those questions come hesitations towards moving towards electric vehicles. We understand the need to ease their minds on the positives of switching to electric vehicles, like low maintenance cost, battery warranties, and improved range compared to the early generations. We are currently reviewing our legislation and considering relaxing the size and the power-to-weight ratio for electric vehicles here on island. And as a start, we have invited motor car dealers to share feedback on the models of electric vehicles available to them outside of the statutory limits, and to provide their suggestions for any changes that they would like to see. And this is where I'm going to depart from my notes. To date, we have only received feedback from one dealer. That is not good enough. Our goal is not to be restrictive, but to be as broad as possible and consider all opportunities. And if needed, allow the government to scale back any what might be considered grandiose ideas. Right now, we have a car limitation or size limitations of 175 inches long, 75 inches wide. And the recommendation we got was for adding 2 inches to that. That's not good enough. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about changing the industry and changing hearts and minds here in Bermuda. We need to forget the current sandbox that we're playing in. We need to make sure that we're not looking at what Bermuda looks like today, tomorrow, but what Bermuda looks like 15 years from now. Car manufacturers are not considering Bermuda's regulations when it comes to their designs. And so for me, I'll set the gauntlet down, I'll set the marker. I would like to see, the ministry would like to see the Tesla Model X as the new size in private cars. But with that comes a new way of thinking. I've always said that COVID is the great equalizer, because what we used to think was unattainable and unthinkable is now the norm. The government has committed to transitioning its fleet to electric over time. The ministry has already purchased 30 new electric buses that will arrive on island in the early 2022, which is a step in the right direction. We are now working on the infrastructure to support these initiatives, and we expect dealers, municipalities, and other key stakeholders are also thinking through infrastructure needs to support electric vehicles. And this is where I depart from my notes again. We need to create a charging infrastructure throughout the island. And the creation of a new charging infrastructure is new possibilities and opportunities for small businesses and entrepreneurs. This is the time for us to create the new next billionaire. This is the time for us to create an infrastructure that could be the envy of the world. Our size is perfect. Bermuda's small size should allow for us to be able to do more with less, and to be able to make sure that we work any bugs out before any of the other industrialized nations. As the world becomes more eco-conscious, some of our residents have already turned to electric vehicles to help reduce gas emissions and improve air quality, both of which lend to an improved quality of life for all Bermuda residents. For several years, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources has had monitors throughout the island to determine the levels of gas emissions. The alarming results of these monitors were a vital indicator of the need for emission standards. The ministry is also considering this in our legislative review. And to go back to, once again, the possibilities and opportunities for small businesses comes in simply, let's just look at the disposing of batteries for the electric vehicles. This is something where the government can create the template, and then once that template is created, knowing that all of the legislative requirements have been achieved with that template, we can put that out to the private sector, to your small businesses, to your entrepreneurs, to provide a vital public service. And the ministry looks forward to working with all stakeholders to ensure that the transportation sector is EV ready, in regulation, in policy, in capital improvements, planning for public and private infrastructure to sustain electrification by dates established in our mobility strategy. In closing, I welcome all participants to use the summit as a platform to exchange and share experiences and discuss the most recent innovations, trends, and concerns in the fields of electric vehicles. I look forward to receiving the outcome of the summit. I also take this opportunity to thank the Department of Energy for support in arranging the summit and Rocky Mountain Institute for facilitating today's session. Before I really close, and once again, this is a politician in me not wanting to give up the mic, I urge and I challenge everybody that is a part of this summit to push the envelope as far as possible. Let the government be the bad guy in restricting these new plans and ideas. Let the government say, you've gone too far. But in this current climate where I sit, I believe that the Ministry of Transport is actually pushing a bit harder, a bit further than the private sector in this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Scott, and thanks for sharing your vision. It's really exciting and inspiring to see where the ministry wants to move forward, and I think you'll find that the conversation here today will hopefully be a substantive step in that direction. So thanks very much for your time. We really appreciate it.